Was the drama being on the run?
The drama was being on the run because if you're an escapee, you've got no ID, no money, no job, no place to stay, and no future prospects.
What about the person who picked you up? Did that person provide you with anything?
No, he'd just come down from Canada just as a tourist, basically. He had this old car and he knew I was in jail. So I just got the word from him, can you pick me up? And he didn't live there. He didn't have a house. He didn't have anything. So he wasn't, and he didn't want to stick around either after that.
So where did you go?
Well, this is the thing. The only place you can go is Skid Row. I mean, realistically. So I went down to the Tenderloin in San Francisco, and you know, there you are with whatever you've got. I had a few dollars from the prison that I'd saved, a few $20 bills, and I managed to get a room for a week down at the Tenderloin. And then, of course, what do you do? There you are. And unfortunately, at that time, the Tenderloin, it's probably still true now, was just filled with junkies. So you got all these junkies looking like feral rats, sort of looking for anything that can move or they can steal. So you got a lot of competition. So I was down at the Cala food store shoplifting meat, and I'd buy the vegetables and the potatoes and shoplift the meat and the cheese. And then I was down, well, again, I started boosting out of stores to sort of decorate my apartment. I mean, it was a serious hand to mouth existence, hunting and gathering, just like we used to do 10,000 years ago.
Did you feel unusually alive at this moment?
Yeah, of course you do, because you're living by your wits.
Yeah.
I mean, the the problem with middle class life that we lead, that we grew up to, is in many cases it's just boring. You sit in classrooms being bored, then you graduate to universities where you sit in classrooms being bored, and then you get a job and you can be bored in a job and go back and watch boring TV. I mean, the, there's got to be more in life. So as a young man, I thought, I've got to live life. I mean, I'm a young guy. It's time to do young guy things. And I've always liked studying history, so there were lots of examples. So as soon as I'd hooked up with my crime partner, we just went on a spree.
So you're free, you use Skid Row, and now you're hooking up with a crime partner.
Right.
Where's this person materialized from?
Well, he'd been released, on parole.
This is
So
someone from Quentin.
yes, not Quentin at the time, but the Sierra Conservation. It's
Okay.
through there. So all of a sudden, you got somebody. There's two of you.
How did he find you?
Well, it was you have names in common, people name numbers and phone books. So all of a sudden, there's two, and then you can just run amok, and that's what we did. He had a list of drug dealers that we could rob, and or well, we called it collecting on debts or whatever the description of that was. But basically, we were robbing drug dealers.
So you've gone from like a skinny, nerdy, hippie looking guy before you got arrested to this buffed up guy now, getting out of prison, clicking up with another prisoner to robbing drug dealers. That's
Well,
quite a
well, the
transformation.
problem is, what do you do when you're on escape? And in a sense, I mean, on television or in the movies, the guy has a friend who gives him all this excellent fake ID, and you fall into a job, and you watch Banshee, right? The guy becomes the deputy sheriff. I mean, that's not what happens in the real world. Most escapees, like Cornell, I was just telling you about that Indian who did escape from the Yolo County jail. They found him 3 months later, destitute, asleep on a bus bench at Las Vegas bus station. I mean, that's where you end up. Usually escapees go straight back to the girlfriend's house or mom's house and get arrested like 6 hours later, whatever, right? I was determined not to do that. I want to stay out for longer than 6 hours. It'd be embarrassing. Well, I mean, in a sense, you're going back to jail, so you don't want to embarrass yourself.
Yeah.
So we ran amok, and we had fun. I must say, robbing drug dealers was entertaining.
Are you an adrenaline junkie?
I don't, I don't know if it's that, but I mean, I'm not a tough guy. That's first thing. I'm not a tough guy, and I'm not an adrenaline junkie in a sense of skydiving, climbing a mountain, rock climbing with no help or anything like that. But I must say, robbing drug dealers warmed my heart. It was it was like being a pirate because drug dealers collect not lots of nice stuff, and I had nothing in my apartment. And the first people we hit were there were two drug dealers working for the Hells Angels, and they were somewhere in.
Did you know they were working for the HA?
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit of a kamikaze thing?
Well, no, because once you're on escape, what does it matter, right?
Fuck everyone, basically.
I mean, you're basically a wolf in the paddock with the sheep, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, so the story was that these people had been fronted a pound of coke by somebody we knew, the wife of somebody we knew, and they just stiffed her because they knew he was in jail. So we felt like the white knights on this one.
Yeah.
And so it went down as it usually as it does, sneaking around, reconnoitering the place. The knock on the door, kick the door off the hinges. He flies through the air, guns out. But the unfortunate part was that the Hell's Angel, or I guess he was a Hell's Angel, showed up in the middle of all this, right? And it was really exciting because there were three doors. I could hear his chopper sort of pull into the garage. And there were three doors he could be coming out of, and we didn't know which one it was, right? So we're standing waiting for him. And suddenly the door opens, and there he is. And he's the quintessential biker, with the bandana and the beard and the sunglasses and all the accoutrements, right? And he looks at me as I say, freeze! But he didn't really believe me. I guess I was sweating too much and looking, But my partner put the gun under his jawbone. He believed that, right? So we tied him up. And, well, there were drugs, there was money, there was leather coats, racks of champagne, whatever you want, Bose speakers, the latest of everything. So I died and gone to heaven. We spent about 3 hours there packing up everything. Took his chopper, took everything, the drugs. And we left the girlfriend, didn't hurt him, didn't do anything like that. So, again, it's like the pirates. Once they have one good hit, they get excited. And they think, oh, is this all it takes, right? I shouldn't be talking like this because you were a drug dealer. So beware of convicts on escape.
How many of these hits did you do on drug dealers?
Oh, as much as the information came in, we'd do them. So I don't know, might have been a dozen, 10.
Information like people buying drugs from those people would tip you guys off, and they get a piece of the action.
And because the people don't really like drug dealers, right? They know drug dealers are making money off them, so they resent it. So it wasn't hard to get information about drug dealers.
Did your spree just involve robbing drug dealers, or did it exacerbate into other things?
Of course, because you're basically a gun for hire in a way. So we got hired. One job we got was we worked for the mob in the Bay Area, and there was at that time the Hells Angels they decided to go into the sandwich truck business. And in typical Hells Angels fashion, their idea of dealing with the competition was throwing grenades into the trucks of their competition. So they burned about 3 or 4 trucks, and they were chasing people off their spots, and they were developing this big chain of anyway, we got hired to bodyguard these sandwich trucks.
Were they grenading the trucks with people in them?
Well, no, they wouldn't blow people up,
okay.
But they would wait. For example, you drive the truck back to your house, it's parked outside your house. Just puts a grenade underneath the gas tank, and away she goes. You can look that up. It's they call it the sandwich truck wars. Anyway, so we got a job of we had to cruise the mob also owned sandwich trucks, a chain of sandwich trucks. So we got to cruise all their sites looking for any evil looking bikers hanging around. So that was one of the jobs we got.
What year are we in now?
Oh, where are we this time? I guess around 1978, maybe, something like that.
Okay. And did the spree, any other crazy stuff on the spree, or?
Well, of course there were a few robberies thrown in here and there, right?
Yeah.
We quite liked Persian rugs.
Yeah.
So It was a Persian rug robbery. Came in there, and antiques also we quite like because we were furnishing our apartment, right?
Hmm. How long did the spree last?
Not that long. It was more about months, I guess. Eventually, what happened is that we got too excited, and we started trying to form the Wild Bunch, right, by recruiting guys in, and of course the word spreads. And one fateful day, I'm in the apartment. There's a knock on the door, and the firemen say there's a gas leak.
Mm.
So I look out at the firemen, and I think, oh yeah. So I go back and I got an AR-15. So I get the AR-15, and again, this is another moment of truth. Do I just start? Do I let him have it through the door and try and shoot my way through, or do I try and sneak away? So I opt for the civilized choice. I go outside, and then I can hear the firemen coming out the back exit, and I try to bluff my way past them, saying, "Oh, there's a gas leak. We got to get out of here." But of course, they got my picture. So it turned out the FBI had taken over the Nob Hill fire station, taken the uniforms of the firemen, told the firemen to stand down, not informed the San Francisco police because they didn't trust them. And so,
Wow. Where did you end up back then?
well, that's straight back to San Quentin, isn't it?